Hi guys, this is Sourdough Kathy here, and I figured since this is a channel that is about gardening, worms, rants, and other things, today I'm going to show you my worm collection. Right here you see I have what is called the Vermi Max, and in it I have my red wigglers. I used to have 5 bins full of wigglers, and I decided that I wanted to keep some other ones. So now I have my wigglers in here. Now when I first started this bin I had a little bit of a problem because what I did was I dumped all 5 of my bins in here. And most of them were finished. So for the first few tries I've been getting some wet castings and has quite a few worms, but that's not the bag's fault, that's my fault because I started it the wrong way. So now what I've got is mostly, there's just a little bit left of what was originally in here, and then you can see I put in some large chunks of cardboard, and I'm not putting any slurried food in this bin anymore. I'm just going to put fresh vegetables, or I'm not fresh vegetables, but old. Actually, these are broccoli that I was growing in to put outside, but for the last 3 days we've had snow. There is no way that I could even get them out into a cold frame because it would be ridiculous. So I'm going to take you from here, and now I'm going to show you my European nightcrawler bins. So this is my first European nightcrawler bin, and in each one of my bins I have different things. I hope there's enough light here for you to see. Down in here I'm going to put this light down so that you can see a little bit. In here I have strictly leaves and coffee chaff. You can see my wormies. Let me see if I can get any here. Well, here's a nice big fat one right here. Yeah, he's a nice big one. And this one has a mixture. I also put food in here, and you can see I have a clump of some food right there. And they do wonderful things with leaves. I mean, they'll go through this in 2 months. So I'm going to cover this back up. Give me a second here, and then I'll pop you over to my other bin. Now, my other bin is right next to it. Now, this bin is a mixture of leaves as well as moose droppings. There's a different texture in moose droppings, and if you know them, they're very grainy and gritty, but look at, here's another one of those. And they love it. They've gone through mostly the most of the leaves that are in here already, and they're working on the moose droppings now. Here's a nice big fat worm ball, which everyone loves, a worm ball, along with some food. Okay, now, and this is my test that I've had going on. Now, the third one over here, because I've had, everyone complains that they cannot keep their European nightcrawlers inside their bins. So I started this experiment months ago, and I never got the videos up because I didn't know what I was doing. And I will be putting that video up. And in the theory was that if you have what your worms like to live in, that they will stay put. I have not had one European nightcrawler try to crawl out of any of my bins since I switched to a mixture of either plain leaves or mixed with coffee chaff, or leaves and the moose droppings, or even paper or cardboard, so long as it's mixed with the leaves. Now this bin here is a mixture of, and you can see there's lots of worms in here too. Nice big fat ones and some little ones. This one is a mixture of small pieces of cardboard mixed with leaves. Now, the only thing I've noticed about this is that, as usual, the cardboard takes forever to break down. And I'm sure that they're not doing so much eating as it's getting broken down by the microbes. Because the leaves, they go through in 2 months, and I can have the most beautiful castings, but if there's cardboard in it, forget about it. Okay, now I'm going to take you over here to some African night crawlers. Now I'm going to be honest with this one. This used to be over here in this very long bin, but I started finding dead worms, and I don't know if it was because they were old or if something was wrong or what. So I made a decision to get them the heck out of there before they all croaked, and I put them in here. Now this is a mixture of leaves and moose droppings along with coffee and eggshells and everything else, you know, the normal stuff you would put in. And since I put them in here, they're doing just fine. They're back to being night crawlers, alive ones, not dead ones. And I'm glad, because it's very painful when you raise worms to see a bunch of dead ones. And this batch of them, I don't know why, but for some reason, they all want to stay in the bottom. They really like the manure. So anyway, they're down in there. There's a lot of them in there. It doesn't look like many because this is quite deep. I would say that this bin is probably a good, it's up to here, somewhere 12 inches maybe. And then I have my last night crawler bin, African night crawlers. And I was just talking to my son about this. What I think is so cool about these guys is I'll come in here and I'll turn this all over at night. And when I come out in the morning, and because leaves leave these little itty bitty veins, these little things here, I can smooth them out. I can take them out of here really easily so that I don't have to mess with them when I'm taking my castings. But anyway, this bin is jam-packed, filled with worms. And I'll tell you, they love these moose droppings. Just love it. You can't imagine, I don't know if anybody knows what moose droppings feel like. Look at all of them. That's how many are in here. I think when I counted there were over 1,300, and now I know there's more than that now. This is a clump of food I put in here last night for them. I'm not going to mess with them too much, but because I mess with them every day. I know I am totally obsessive, and I've been doing it for 4 years. But anyway, moose droppings are very grainy because they're made out of, and I put nothing more than things like this on top. Has a big hole. This one I just put a cloth on top. Most of these just have paper or a piece of cloth on top. So to finish off what I was saying, moose droppings are very grainy. And you know it because they eat wood. They chew it up and they swallow it, and then they poop these little balls out, and if you break them up, you can use them as bedding. And so I mixed them with leaves, and since these guys have been in here about 2 months now, they have almost broken down everything in this bin. It's starting to feel like gold. I mean, it's just like baby powder already. It's just amazing to me. Well, that's it for now. Well, wait a minute. I'm going to show you something here too. I have a small bin here for my, this is just for some European night crawlers that I take when I get my junk, what I call chaff or junk, when I do my bins. I put it all in here. This is a bunch of just stuff that I don't want in my castings, and it also has all the eggs in it because the screen that I use catches the eggs. So what I do is when the babies hatch, I take the babies out of there and I put them in here, and you can see them in there. There's a bunch of them, and lately I've even been throwing some eggs in here as I catch them. Now, a lot of people think that you need to put a whole lot of eggshell and all kinds of other stuff in. I want to let you know that I use these strips. They're for water, but once you get the tip of them wet, no matter what you put them in, it will give you an accurate assessment of where your bins are at. Now, I normally, when I start my bins, throw in some sand, you know, maybe half a cup, quarter of a cup of sand. I'll throw in maybe a quarter of a cup of eggshell, and then all I do is put in my food. Now, I put very little else. Sometimes I'll use a little crab meal if I don't have eggshells, or if I don't have sand, I'll use bone meal sometimes. The blood meal is for my veggies. But one thing I've been using lately too is I use, this is rabbit poo that I get from a rabbit that deposits some turds outside in my yard, and I go around picking them up. I know I'm weird, but that's okay. Wormers are weird. We like weird stuff. But you know what? It makes great plants, like the ones that are growing here, the ones that you've seen before. I actually had to get rid of the broccoli today because it was growing broccoli. I have one left, and I don't even know why I'm keeping it, because you're not going to get anything out of it in the solo cup, but oh well, there's not much you can do about it. So I just planted some new ones down on the bottom, and they should be up by the time I can plant them. In the meantime, the tomatoes are still growing, and everything else is still growing, so I'm thankful for these worm castings. That's it, folks. If you like it, press like. If you'd like to subscribe, subscribe. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Love y'all. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.